Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Blair Township Board of Trustees regular board meeting of December 10th, 2019 to order. Would you please join me for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Please. President Kukrow.
Yes,
Wolfgang.
Here.
Longshine.
Here.
Campbell. Here. Knights.
Here.
Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Brief public input. Approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and approved, moved and supported to approve the agenda as presented.
Jenna.
All in favor?
Aye.
Declaration of conflict of interest. Conflict. Presentation and special reports. Traverse County Commissioner.
First one up.
First one up, Ron.
At our November 20th board meeting, we were at a presentation from Ray Kendra, the architect for the proposed senior center building. And it smells like they're going to be requesting a one-year millage for that building. And I'd like feedback, not necessarily tonight, but just in the future, because the board will be voting on allowing that to go on the ballot. And I'm sure that we'll be checking to see if the county as a whole can even support structure on city property or Blair Township property or Green Lake Township property. If it was county-owned property, might be a different matter, but so anyway, it's it will be coming to us in the future. And I would just like to know, the feelings of some of the folks that are going to be helping to pay for it.
Ron, any idea on the amount of the one-year millage?
They're saying 4 to 5 million for the building, so I'm kind of thinking they're gonna shoot the doors off and go for a $6 million building. And I think that what they're saying is 1 mil for 1 year would get them 5 million, roughly.
Do you have any idea how many people use that center?
We were told, and I don't have that information with me, but it was heavier, the usage was heavier to the city and Garfield Township than the outlying.
I think it was like 13,000 or 17, a lot.
Oh, wow.
A lot was the numbers that they.
That was use the network, isn't it?
Pardon?
I know the number,
Just shoot the number out.
because I looked it up. It was 13,800 who belong or who
Yeah.
are seniors. And they have regular users, meaning a couple times a month, of 6,000. That does include Interlochen, that does include Fife Lake and,
Leelanau.
yeah,
Yep.
and Kingsley.
Kingsley.
That does include those people, but they say regular users are 6,000. The other, Lori gave me this number, so she said 25% are from the city, 75% are from the county. So,
Which would include Garfield Township.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Ron, does any, I know we pay a commission on aging
Right.
millage.
And-
Does any of that money go to the senior center?
No,
Not for voting.
not not for Commission on Aging. It's the, just the millage for
Because
this.
we pay them a millage for the operation right now, right?
It's for the, it's for the programming.
Yeah.
There
And the
was-
county paid for the building that they're in now?
No, that's the city's, that's a city building.
Oh,
Yeah,
And it's a city park.
it's,
so,
it's been it's been ongoing for over 20 years. And when I was a board member, originally I started the Commission Agent and the Senior Citizens together.
Correct.
And it always drove us nuts because I don't know why the Grand Traverse would sit there and be on, it's a city park in the first place, okay?
Correct.
A lot of people don't know it, they think it's a senior center, and they think, but anybody can go on that beach. I hit, yes, and at that time, of course, my buddy Michael Estes was mayor at that time when I was on there, and they were only giving a 1-year lease, and we were trying to get them to give at least a 20 to 25-year lease. I don't know if that's changed, because it's been 3 years since I've been on that board. And to me, it always goes in, you want us to try and do fun, to get money for a building, a county building on city property. And that always drove me nuts, because they could say, now you're out, we own the building, yeah, you build it, to me, it just doesn't make sense, asking county people for a city building, but yet for county use. And if they could make an agreement to a lifetime lease, it's okay. I don't think they have a lifetime lease, do they?
I don't believe there is.
I don't think so, because we were trying to get them at least a 25-year lease. And I mean, in my opinion, $5 million is a lot, and a covered porch, so they can see the view of the bay. I'm sorry, I'm 78 years old. If I want to see a view of the bay, I will go down the old Wack Beach, whatever, or the state park, I mean. But $5 million is a lot. It's a lot for county building on city property. That still drives me nuts. Okay, that's what I'd say, okay?
And then Nicole, I don't know if in your packet, the resolution.
I did, I just stuck it in our packet
Okay.
for everybody under correspondence.
Okay.
Yep.
That resolution, to avoid the perception of tax funding influence on local elections, that there was, pretty much started at the city with Traverse Connect, who has a PAC that was providing funding to city commissioners, and in our last election to county commissioners, which when I look at the city and they're gonna be voting, and I don't know why they wouldn't extend it, but the TIP district, which is, I believe, supposed to end in '23, they're going to be extended 15 years or so, just by a vote of the board, the city board. And the Traverse Connect works closely with the DDA, and so if the Traverse Connect can load the board with like-minded folks, that is going to pass, and they'll never drop that tip. They don't have to. They can just keep voting forward. So this is something to help dissuade Traverse Connect from doing that. And by the way, Traverse Connect probably came to this, I don't know if they came to your board or just to the office, but they're looking for funding from townships. They're looking for funding from the county. And not that funding that they receive will necessarily go to the PAC, but it's it's just something that I don't agree with, and most of the board members didn't agree with it, so. Tomorrow is gonna be a study session regarding the airport governance, and 8 o'clock, and everyone's welcome to come. I don't think it's gonna be much for discussion, it's just gonna be a presentation from the airport. So, if there's any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Deputy Karczewski is at a Christmas recital program tonight. So he put his report out on the table for everybody. Pinchers County Road.
Andy Merritt, Grand Terrace County Road Commission. One of the things to keep in mind on what Commissioner Klaus reported and what Dr. Pepper said was those numbers are for all the facilities, not just the city. So when you got 75% of the people using from outside the county, the Kingsley, Interlochen, there's another one I can't remember, Fife Lake?
Fife Lake.
Fife Lake.
Fife
So
Lake
those
is
three-
1 day a week.
But those three facilities are counted in that number. And I think Ron was trying, of course he's gone, was trying to get the numbers of what they're actually using the city, that city building for. How many people are using it. I mean, it's a great facility, it's a great asset, but should the county pay for the city building? But anyways, it's just, when you're looking at, there's a lot of numbers out there and you gotta look at what those numbers really are. Because we don't always do the greatest job of government of keeping track of certain things like facilities, properties, and infrastructure. Which brings me to what I'm gonna talk about. Our new manager is doing a great job. We just gave him his review. It's really impressive that our manager said, I don't wanna go into closed session. Let's talk about my performance in the open. It's either really, really gutsy and he's ready to take a beating in front of everybody, or he's confident in what he's doing, and he has reason to be confident. He's doing a pretty good job for someone who just took over, who doesn't have the kind of experience that some others may have, but has some of the skills that we needed. And one of the things that he's doing that I'm really impressed with so far is our asset management plan. We've had an asset management plan for roads, sort of. He's taken all of everything that the Grand Traverse County Road Commission owns, buildings, trucks, tractors, rakes, shovels, signs, culverts, everything. And coming up with a management plan to track that, see where we're at, what we need to do to replace stuff. Facilities, we haven't even neglected our facilities like many other places have. We've got roads to take care of. That's where our focus has been, is trying to get the roads fixed. Well, we have a salt barn and building in Kingsley that's probably not gonna stand much longer. It may go on its own. The windows are cracking because the foundation's settled. So that's not a good thing. So we had a couple of people go out and look, and they're like, yeah, this is at its end. So that's probably gonna come down this year. We're gonna build a new barn, a new salt barn, and a new facility there to hold the trucks.
Is that for you?
River Road, just south of Keystone. Or just south of Keystone Walk Road, and rolled several times. Hasn't seen anyone get out of the vehicle yet. He's going to check on injury. It's a great one. It's very 18 months.
So roads are slippery out there.
Yeah, they are.
And so anyways, he's looking at getting a good asset management plan. He's hoping by the end of this year, he's gonna have everything in place. That's gonna give us an idea where we're gonna need to be. We're probably I'm gonna say the word bond, but that might not be what we do. We may get a loan instead, depending on what we get for interest rates, or anywhere from 20 to 30 years, depending on what state legislation allows us to do. We're looking at what we can do legally for the length of a loan, or a bond, for that building, and we need, like the library, a new roof. So at the current building, it's been leaking, it's got issues, it's got ventilation issues, it's got icing issues. So we're gonna try to get all of our facilities taken
At
care
the
of.
office building?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's been bad. It wasn't, I think that, like, the same people who, I believe the same people who built the library, built that building.
You get like a 20-year warranty?
Yeah, I was gonna
on
say
roof?
that building's not that old. is it?
No, it's not.
It's got issues. We're looking into what we can and can't do, but I think it's beyond me, because it's a commercial building, there are some different, and because we're the government, you know, we can kind of get hosed for some reason. So we're looking at getting all our facilities taken care of so that we're where we need to be, so we don't need to worry about that. And again, we had a plan where we're gonna start putting money aside for that, so we're not going, oh crap, we need to take a loan, or we need a bond, like the library did. And I'm noticing, I've learned a lot I was on the Parks Board, we didn't know what all the properties we owned. I was on the library board, we still didn't know everything that we had. So I think a lot of the government institutions have been just doing what their basic call was and not taking care of or looking at everything that needed to be. And that's one of the things that Brad has brought to us. We have been asking for. Brad has jumped onto that and is doing a really good job of getting that up and running. He got a good review. He didn't get an outstanding walking on water, but he got better. He's done better than I expected he would. He's impressed me. There's always issues, and we're gonna work through some of those. Nothing major. Dirt roads, they suck. Gonna suck. Not much we can do. They were wet until the snow. Then the snow came, then it thawed, and they were still wet. You can't grade a wet road without making it a big mud puddle. They do that twisted trails, they do a mud log through it. That's what happens. We had a guy who tried to help us a couple years ago with a tractor by grading the road for us. We had to call somebody to tow his tractor out of the road because he created a big mud pit. So that's why we don't grade some of those roads when they're as wet as they've been. Our new superintendent went over to Elmer's. They've got something, it's crushed concrete, I believe it is. It's recycling the concrete. We're gonna be trying that this year in some of the areas that are really bad when we can.
I'd suggest you start with Hoosier Valley.
You know, I've heard Bush Road too. Everybody's got a road that's really bad. Hoosier Valley has been awful for as long as I can remember. And even after we did some stuff with drainage and stuff, it's still issues. And you can see some of that is brought on by the way people drive on that road, because it was where we used to go as kids.
For Blair, on call. What's it for station response? 5 routes to PI. Personal backup. Hey.
I'm not going.
I'm waiting to make sure that was all. Everyone's like, but it's the way people drive on some of the roads. Hoosier Valley is one of those that people go out there and they don't drive like it's a road, they drive like it's a place to hot rod or to off-road. Tracy, is that one of your roads with your Jeep you're going off-road now?
Just behind Family Fair.
But that's one of the reasons that road has always been bad. And we're aware of it, we're looking at it, we want to try to figure out what we can do. As with a lot of the non-major primary roads, money is an issue. And hopefully we'll be able to get to those sometime. Ice, snow, bad right now.
Well, I know my son lives just inside Benzie County on Cinder Road off of Betsy River Road.
Mhm.
And the county can go through there and grade that, and the next thing you go through there and somebody's done all this. You know, and you just like to think, boy, I wish you could catch them and
Have a
take
conversation with them.
Yeah. It's terrible, but they do it.
And we do have a new superintendent, so this is his first winter in northern Michigan, so if you have areas that are needing additional loving, please give the office a call so that we're aware of areas that have been neglected, because things have changed a little bit in how we're doing things. So if we don't have someone out on every mile of the road all day, or every day, so let us know if you're getting complaints from your residents on areas that need some additional attention.
Well, we will.
Oh, I hope so. We want to get it taken care of, and we can only fix what we know is wrong. Doesn't mean we can fix it because we know what's wrong.
Potholes on Sawyer Road and over here on 31.
31 is whose?
MDOT, but
Thank you.
county. But you guys, the county patches them.
But they have to send us
Yeah.
something so that we can get paid for that.
Yeah.
Is that a private road that I go on to the ballpark?
I don't know.
From where do you go from where to
Family
where?
Fair to the ballpark?
Yes. Yes, it is.
I mean, the one that
gravel part,
you,
that's
my
fine.
car will disappear into some of those crevices.
Yeah, that's a private road.
Why are you going to the ballpark now, Tracy?
Well, I'm not, because they usually only plow to family fair.
Oh.
Cause that's where she wants to take her Jeep off-road.
That's where I go off-roading at.
Practice track.
You
Any
don't wanna
questions?
do the off-roading on faith, like that picture on
Thanks, Andy.
Facebook?
Thanks, Andy.
I tried to keep it short, but I failed.
Treasurer's report.
All right, general fund, we have 3,104,623. For public safety fund, the fire and police, we have 368,555. Ambulance fund, we have 488,339. Metro Act fund, we have 64,882. Liquor law enforcement fund, we have 25,226. Sewer fund, we have 1,653,513. The water fund, we have 1,648,342. Current tax collection, we have 21,849. Payroll clearing, we have $19. In milfoil, we have 3,928 for a total of $7,379,275.65.
Any questions for Tracy? Announcements and correspondence. Our 2 new furnaces have been installed. We had board of review this morning. It was uneventful, went well. Union negotiations will be starting next month. Eric submitted the emergency services capital improvement plan. He did a great job on that. And Ron talked about the county commissioner's resolution. That's all I have for announcements, correspondence.
Last Thursday, the local MTA banquet award ceremony at the house, which you two went to. To me, it was fantastic. It was a great meal. And presentation of Judy Allen. She's always good. She's not as good as Larry, but she's really good. She's good. And I do learn a lot from her and the legislative stuff. And I'm glad I went. And to me, it was worth it. And if you, before the meeting and after the meeting, you can talk to all the other townships, trustees, supervisors, treasurers, clerks, and all that. And I think it's great because you're mingling with them and learning new ideas too. So, to me, I think it's $30 a person. To me, it's worth it. And I'm glad I went. And I'm glad to see you two there too, okay? Cool. Thank you.
And thanks Raymond for donating a gift bag for the door drawing. It was appreciated. And I think I told you, Mayor Jim Carruthers won
Yes, yeah.
the door prize.
I'll pass that along to the powers
Yeah.
that be.
Any other announcements or correspondence? Consent calendar. The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with in one board motion without discussion. Any member of the board may ask that any item of the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected.
I have a change on the pooled operating check register. I had to void a check today because I got a statement from election systems and they're called ES&S is what I call them. Yes, election systems and software. Thanks, Jennifer. I didn't realize we had like a $600 and some credit with them. So I voided the original check number 3445, in the amount of $5,844.17. and I reissued check number 3466 in the amount of $5,185.63. So when we vote, we're gonna be approving check number 3466 also. Doesn't, I mean, the total amount is gonna actually be less.
Right. $640 less. Yeah. And I also would like to pull the minutes from the November 12th meeting and just one little noted correction I'd like to see in here on page 6. Under item N, the heating and cooling system quotes. That's all good, but I would just request that we also add to the first paragraph that D&W Mechanical was not able to submit a bid to us until the end of December.
To the end?
The end of December.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the fact that one of our furnaces was already dead, we just went ahead and went with the two. So
I would make a motion to approve the consent calendar with the change to the check register and the change to the November 12th, 2019 meeting minutes.
It's been moved and supported to approve the consent calendar with the one noted change in the check register, as well as the added change to the minutes of November 12th, 2019 board meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? New business. Raymond.
There was no one.
Good evening. Is it on? Is it on? Nope, okay. I don't usually need a microphone. I want to tell you, my highlight of my day so far has been meeting Ozma back here in the back room, so that was fun. Yeah. He didn't bite, bark, or anything at me, so. My name is Steve Peacock. I'm an audit partner at Raymond, and we're here to talk about the year-end, June 30th, 19 financial statements. Give you some cliff notes. For those of you who were here last year, we had some issues that transpired at the end of the year in terms of getting the audit wrapped up. None of those transpired this year, so it was a smooth audit. The entire team right there took care of business this year, and it was a very smooth and uneventful audit. So our hats are off to the crew, and my presentation tonight will be significantly shorter than last year. So, if we can start with this document here first. Nicole said I had to read every page to you, word for word. So I might get some coffee. These are all issued in draft form. As soon as you as a board tell us that you are ready to go, we are ready from the Raymond side to produce finals. So the board should adopt the draft that you see in front of you, and we will go to production as far as binding up the finals, getting things signed and dated and so forth. So on page 1, the letterhead under Raymond, you'll see there's a red month on there that has not been dated. Again, that's going to happen when you approve this. But this is the audit opinion, the independent auditor's report. And in 3 pages, what I can tell you is this is a clean or unmodified opinion. So that's the highest level of assurance we can place on financial statements. That's the gold standard, okay? Last year's opinion, there was some language in the report that talked about the prior audit firm. That's noticeably absent this year because we were the predecessor auditor, so we just continue on down the road. So it's important to note that not everybody gets a clean opinion, and you fine folks did. So beginning on page 5 is the management's discussion and analysis, and that rolls through page 15, I believe it is. Yep, 14. That is a document that is prepared for management, or by management, for management's discussion. It is taking the financial statements that follow and puts it into a more of a layperson's terminology, makes it easier to read. We don't audit that document, but we do make sure it's consistent with the financial statements that follow. So I'm not going to comment on the MD&A. I'll get you right back to page 16. Statement of net position for Blair Township. This has all of your assets, all of your liabilities under two captions, governmental and business type. Business type is going to be water and sewer. Governmental is everything else. Okay, just to keep everything simple. Going to the total column, far right-hand side. First subtotal, total assets, $23,027,000. The bottom line total net position, $16,272,000. Of the $16,272,000, you have 6.8 invested in capital assets such as the building, the podium, the tables you're sitting in front of. $1,134,000 for restricted purposes. But the telling tale here is the last item, $8.3 million of unrestricted net position. A very positive number, healthy financial position for the township. Okay. Page 17 is called the Statement of Activities. This is akin to an income statement. It looks very different if you're used to reading financial statements. Starts with the column of expenses in the first column there, governmental activities on the left-hand side. First column, expenses. Then you put program revenues across the next two columns, charges for services, operating grants and contributions, etc. Go all the way to the far right bottom column, net burn of $1,259,000 for the primary government. Take that to the next page. This is where you apply your general revenues for property taxes, grants, miscellaneous items. So that totaled $2,177,000, $917,000 change in net position. That would be your net income. So gold standard audit report, healthy fund balance, healthy net position. Now you got earnings of $917,000, all in the plus column. Okay, it's all good to report. Moving on to page 20. This is a little different format of a balance sheet. This is the fund by fund financial statements. You'll notice here there are no fixed assets and there are no long-term debts on these fund statements. That's the weird thing about governmental accounting, but you have a balance sheet that has everything on it, what we just went through, and now you have one that doesn't have really much meaningful information. But those are the accounting standards we're stuck with. And I'm going to talk about the general fund here. Total assets, $3.8 million, comprised principally of pooled cash. And then you got $244,000 of liabilities, and then fund balance of $3,565,000, second line from the bottom. Again, a very healthy fund balance in your general fund. Top financial performance for your township. Page 22 is a reconciliation between the two balance sheets. I won't go into a lot of detail there. There's a lot of accounting. For those who want to talk about that, I'm happy to talk about that, but there's a lot of accounting vernacular in there that might confuse or bore all of you, most, if not all of you. On to page 24, statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Similar presentation as the general fund we just spoke about. We'll talk about the general fund here. Total revenues, $1,215,000. Expenditures, $828,000. You had some transfers in. Overall change, third line from the bottom, and the fund balance, $389,000. So again, another plus in the columns. You have general fund build of $389,000. Someone might ask, why did police and fire have a $557,000 decrease in their fund balance? If you look about halfway through the page, $611,000 was a planned capital outlay. So that ended up burning your fund balance, which was as expected and as it was budgeted. So when you see negative numbers in there, some people say, that looks bad. Well, this was a planned expenditure of fund balance, so this is not out of the ordinary.
Just send them over there and look at that beautiful new fire truck.
I want to get a ride in that thing. Maybe not tonight, though. Okay, continuing through, and stop me at any time if you guys have questions, because I tend to go through this relatively quickly. Page 26 is a reconciliation of the income statements. I'm going to comment on that. 27 and 28 are the required statements for your general fund budget performance. Likewise, you have similar on 29 for police and fire. and then ambulance on 30. But what I want to bring you back to is to page 27. Under the State Budgeting Act, the audit firm is required to report to the state if there's any budget overages on the expense side. They don't care about the revenue side, but they want the expense side monitored. So you'll look here, if you go to halfway down the page, general government expenditures, or two captions. Treasurer was over by $4,029, and then cemetery was off by $1,017. So you'll find a footnote number 2 to the financial statement that discloses this under the Public Acts. I'm here to tell you this is not anything to be concerned about. We have clients who have pages of these variances, and after having several years of those filed at the state, they will eventually lose their sense of humor, and they will take action. Having 2 of these minor numbers, no issues whatsoever. So, but we have a responsibility to report that to the state. So when you see the footnote in footnote number 2, that's what this is about, okay? All right, moving through on page 31, these are the financial statements of the proprietary fund, water sewer. Proprietary funds are funds that look, act, and smell like a business, so your sewer and water, charges for service, etc. That's why this has a special financial statement. Total column to the right-hand side, total assets of $17,342,000. If you go down to the last 2 lines, net position, you've got $5,262,000 invested in capital assets, again, assets that the water and sewer department uses, and then unrestricted 4.8. So that's another positive. You've got a good, healthy, unrestricted portion of your net position. So everything's coming up roses in this audit report, as you can tell. On to page 32. Again, working from the far right-hand column, total operating revenues of $1,310,000. And then if you look third line from the bottom, change in net position $446,000. So water and sewer was $446,000 to the good during the year. Large part for the water fund rather than sewer, but in total was $446,000. Proprietary funds under GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, are required to have statements of cash flows. Then those are present on page 33 and 34. I think you're getting the gist that you've got good cash flow, you've got good earnings. Page 35 is your agency fund. This is money the township holds on behalf of others. So you've got revenue, you've got cash, then you've got a liability. It's basically money you're holding.
Are you missing something, Marilyn? I can hear you now. Don't mind?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
So now on to, are there any questions on the formal financial statements? Okay, moving on to the footnotes on page 37. No accounting pronouncements were adopted during the year. Accounting policies year over year have remained consistent. So there's not a lot to go into as far as the notes to the financial statement. Footnote number 1, we'll just go real briefly. This is the summary of significant accounting policies. Lots of talk about governmental accounting standards in here. Working through the document here, ending up over to page 43. This is where your budgetary and footnote number 2 is discussed. You are compliant with the State Public Act. 44, those were those 2 items get reported. The overage in treasurer and cemetery. Again, I don't expect any issues with the state on this whatsoever. Deposits and investments are footnote number 3. Policies related thereto are on page 45. On page 46, we talk a little bit about accounts receivable and capital assets. We roll forward your beginning balances, get to the ending balance. 47 is the business type activities or water sewer, fixed assets. And then the table at the bottom of 47 has your depreciation expense and where it was allocated during the year. 48, a table talking about your accounts payable and accrued liabilities, interfund receivables and payables in footnote number 7. Long-term obligations round out the bottom of 48. Rolling over to 49 with your bonded debt, you'll see that there's the amounts outstanding, interest rates, installments, etc. Along with the bottom there talks about the amounts that are due over the next few years. The top of page 50 rounds out that table. And then we go into more policy type footnotes. Footnote number 9 talking about risk management. Footnote number 10 talking about property taxes, your defined contribution plans, and 11. Page 51, this is your allocation of fund balances under GASB 54. Talks about prepaid items, advances, any kind of committed and restricted type fund balances. And then your net position, the bottom of page 51 and footnote number 13. Any questions on the footnotes? I know it's a lot to digest. The pages that follow are the supplemental schedules that roll up to the front, so I generally don't comment on those. Those are covered by our opinion, and the opinion is unqualified or unmodified as it relates to those numbers as well. So those are all. Any questions on the financial statement?
Glad you didn't read the whole thing.
Nicole only gave you 3 hours and 25 minutes to do this. So if we could just briefly talk on this letter here that you would have received in your packet. This is essentially the auditor's communication with those charged with governance is what it's defined in the audit standard. That's you fine folks. There's a lot of very standard language in here. The first page talks about our responsibility with relation to the financial statement audit. Moving through to page 2, plan, scope, and timing of the audit. We had internal meetings with, and also with management. We didn't have to modify our planning. Last year, there was a discussion in this letter about that. We had to change things considerably in light of the transition. This year, everything went very smooth. We complied with all ethical requirements of the profession, qualitative aspects of the township's significant accounting practices, middle of page 2. Those we talked about. Those are comprised in footnote number 1 to the financial statements. Moving through to page 3, there were no difficulties encountered during the audit. I think last year we talked about the difficulty, but it's gone, thank God. Next section, uncorrected and corrected misstatements. We did have some adjustments to the financial statements that we proposed to management, and they made them without any problem. There was no challenging of the audit firm with respect to adjusting journal entries. Middle of the page, there were no disagreements with management. Under representations requested for management, when this goes final, we're going to ship a representation letter over here to Nicole and to her team that they have to sign. It basically tells the audit firm that everything we've requested and that they've given to us is accurate and honest to the best of their knowledge and belief. So that will also accompany this letter when you see this in final form. Top of page 4, other information and documents containing audited financial statements. This talks about the schedules that appear after the footnotes. We did audit those, and those are subject to the audit opinion. Last item on here, and if you guys are really having a hard time sleeping, that's where you want to go. Upcoming changes in accounting standards. That's where the real riveting material is. On to page A1, this is consideration of internal control over financial reporting. We've got 3 repeat comments from last year. You go to the first page after the title, look at the top, finding 2009-001. This is the preparation of financial statements in accordance with GAAP and material audit adjustments. For those of you who were here last year, I went through the discussion after what happened at Enron several years ago. The audit standards changed, and they said every single company or enterprise under audit has to have a CPA on staff, licensed with a current education, that can do this document internally. Well, most of our clients don't have CPAs on staff. They outsource this to the audit firm. That's allowed under the new audit standards, but what goes along with doing that is this finding right here. This is a very common finding. We probably have it in 90% of our governmental units and our commercial clients. So this is nothing to lose any sleep over. Treasury and Lansing knows all about it. This does not impact any sources of funds or cause any problems in Lansing. The next page, lack of appropriation segregation of accounting duties. This is an inherent risk that when you have a small organization, you do the best you can to segregate duties, but inherently it's a small group. It would be easy to collude. We do not believe that's going on. but we have a responsibility under the standards to report that to you. So there's really not a whole lot that can be done to change that particular finding. And then the last item to talk about is the delinquent water and sewer customer accounts. We talked about that last year, and we're working with management on possibly making this go away for next year. So right now, there's some collection activity that goes on the property tax bills. If you don't pay your bill on time, it goes under the bill, on the property tax bill. We're suggesting that the folks here collect it more earlier, if you will. So, I know you guys are working on that, so I'm sure you'll keep the board well in the know on that. Attachment B, these are the upcoming accounting changes. What will happen here is as accounting standards change, we'll work with management and make sure that as they implement, we are following implementation guidance provided to us to the American Institute of CPAs. So nothing here too crazy to talk about. And then the representation letter will appear after this document. And you'll see a draft of the schedule of past adjustments. That's on a landscape page. Keep going back. Keep going. There you go. That's on a landscape piece of Excel. What this is either adjusting journal entries that could have been put on the books, but were chosen not to be recorded on the books. So what we do is we aggregate these to make sure that they are not materially misleading. So if you go to the very bottom of the page, you'll see the percentage of those particular captions: assets, liabilities, equity, revenues, and expenses. And you can see clearly none of these are of any significance, but we still have to report these to you. And we have no issue at all with them not having been made. So, and I wouldn't lose an ounce of sleep over this whatsoever. So that concludes the SAS letter. I forgot to introduce my cohort here, Lauren Brayton back here. She is the fieldwork general, we call her in the office. So she was responsible for badgering everybody over here, right? For documentation and taking in time, so.
Sending us on a wild goose chase to find a water meter.
That was
Yeah.
Taylor, no, I can't, it wasn't a water meter, it was an electric meter.
Was it, oh yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Cherryland
Cherryland,
meter.
yeah.
Yeah, so if anybody's unhappy, talk to her. Happy, talk to me. Okay.
Lauren's great to work with.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that. I have to put that in a review now, Yes.
I can delete that.
Honestly, thank you very much for being a client of Raymond. We appreciate the efforts of everybody here to get to where we are. And if you are so inclined to approve this, we will get busy on our end with producing final documents.
I just wanna, there were a few minor changes from the draft that I emailed you to this one. I got with Lauren, I said, why is this different? We figured it out and we're good.
Good job. And thank both of you. This is the first time I've ever sat through a presentation like this. That's very nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us. And this is a much better report than what we had a year ago. So hats off to you guys too for the efforts undertaken here. If anybody has any questions, the audit opinion does have our phone number on there. You can call myself or Lauren at any time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yep. Have a great evening. Stay safe on the roads.
Yes.
Thanks.
Oh, I didn't have my jacket over.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Do you want us to wait to see if it approves or just let us know?
Oh, you wanna hear it?
Fine. It
Here
doesn't
we
matter.
go.
You can call us and tell us, and if you're doing that now, or if
Just
you're doing
give
that
us a
later.
minute.
Okay. All right.
I would move to approve the fiscal year 2018-19 audit presented by Raymond as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the fiscal 2018-2019 audit as presented from Raymond tonight. Roll call.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Yes. Kuchera?
Yes.
Please?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Zaitz?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Longshine?
Yes.
Wolfgate?
Yes.
We know what to do now.
Thanks,
sir.
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Great job. That's great.
Blair Ivy carries it mostly on her back.
Item B. Waiver request for the surety bond for the water main extension for Blair Business Commons.
Congratulations on your financial report. Well done. Sure it didn't come easy. Brett Campbell is my name, Blair Business Commons, and I am just requesting a variance for the water main installation with the surety bond for 2020.
Let me see what you got to say.
My recommendation would be to not waive for the entire water main installation, to grant the waiver for units 3 and 4 so he can put up his building, and then the water mains to be installed in the spring
The spring of 2021.
of 2020. Grant a waiver for the land use permit to be issued for the building that you have on purchase already to be built in February.
And then the water main, because I think it comes around the other side of the property, so even to
Well,
get
your
to
DEP
that.
permit's only good for 2 years. So, and otherwise you're gonna have to spend more money for another pre-con and for more weight trim escrow. So that, this way you can get your building built with no final occupancy until the water main's in, which county won't give you one anyway without running water. And then spring thaw, get pop out there and get it moving. Like
Sounds
we ought to
fair.
have been doing this fall.
Yeah, I'll try to get it moving this fall.
Mhm.
Yeah, sounds fair.
I'll say that again.
So-
You asked me at the water main.
So,
I'm not surprised.
Brett, units 3 and 4, you were thinking, I know you plan on putting that up in February.
That, yes, that was the plan, it was still working through
Right.
financials on with the bank, but yeah,
Right.
that was the plan with
With the what?
Morton, with the bank.
Oh.
Oh, Morton Construction,
Okay.
you know, Morton Pole Buildings.
Right.
So just to clarify, Lisa, with the main, it comes out on the, like the south side, so you're saying just connect, like put the main all the way through to connect to that building, but not put like spigots up for the other buildings, that's,
No, to just issue the land use permit for the building to be constructed this February. And then come spring thaw for the main to go all the way through.
okay. And
So
that-
there wouldn't be any water connection to that building until the main goes all the way through, but to do the whole thing and just be granted a waiver for the issuance of the land use permit.
Right.
And that was my expectation. I have pops scheduled for the spring, but you know, it's hard to guarantee with some of these contractors. So I would like
There's a lot of them.
you know, a broader window in case they kind of come to me and say, hey, you know, somebody has kind of pushed this job up the ladder because of whatever, a big development. So I just would like enough of a window. But that is certainly the plan with POP this spring to put in the water main. But I
But-
can't force them to the property.
Didn't you say he wouldn't get final occupancy without water?
Correct.
Correct.
Correct, from us
But
or
it's-
from county anyway. So,
But I think what we would
We're
want
just
to
allowing
try
him
to eliminate from happening, Brett, and it's not that we don't trust you as a developer, but we also have to look out for the township, and if we were to grant a waiver through 2021, you could be popping up these buildings.
I don't have the money. But I understand.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, my goal, obviously, I need revenue from this as soon as possible. So I mean, my goal is to get water and occupancy
Right.
and go forward.
Right.
So I'm still working with the bank, and it has been discussed with the bank only as of like yesterday, that maybe we should put the deposit for the building towards the water main and the infrastructure instead of putting the building first and delaying the building for a year. Because it doesn't make sense for me to put the building up and not be able to rent it.
correct.
You know, so I mean, that's my goal, and I understand we're kind of reversing this at
How
the
long do you
moment.
think the building's gonna take, though, Brett?
Well, the building won't take long, that's just a month to put up, but I've got so much, you know, we've got about 250 in building costs, and we have about 200, give or take, thousand in infrastructure costs. So my bank now is kind of looking at the rent return and the timing, and what they were concerned about was that, sure, we borrow the money to put the building up, get the surety bond for the paving and the water main, and then the contractors give me the shaft and not do it in the time frame that we've all agreed to. You know, and that is, I mean, that's a concern, because I can certainly
Which
jump
is
through the hoops
generally
for the
why you
township.
start with infrastructure
Yeah,
first.
so, you know, I guess you decide what you want tonight, but only as of yesterday, we're kind of thinking of potentially changing the process back to what is the normal process. I mean, I started with the building because there was an incentive discount. I built it in February. POP has said they can do it in, you know, spring, April, May, June, whatever spring is. Hopefully not that far.
But like you said, you wouldn't be able to run
Never
that
seen
structure
it.
out until the infrastructure was done anyways, because you
exactly.
wouldn't get occupancy.
Yes, so
So wouldn't it make sense to do the infrastructure first then?
it may well do that, because the bank is kind of pushing me in that direction
Yeah.
versus writing a check. So yeah, and that was only yesterday I met with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have another house for sale, and of course if that sells in the next 2 months, then that's gonna kind of change this whole process, because I will have the funds
Right.
to throw at it, so.
What I would be comfortable is to grant you a waiver for the installation of the water main in your development, for unit 3 and 4 only, and allow a land use permit to be issued prior to the installation of that water main, so you can build it in February. And then the remainder of the units will require the water main to be installed prior to the issuance of a land use permit. So if I make this as a formal motion and it passes tonight, that would give you the option to still build in February. And I would suggest to you that you talk to some more contacts, because I truly believe that the infrastructure should come first. But I don't want to completely shut you down, so.
Yeah, no, I
And I don't
understand.
want you to have to wait another month to come back to this board, so.
Yeah, no, I sort of agree, and of course for me, I'm not, you know, a seasoned
Mhm.
developer, so it's kind of work in progress, but.
So I'm gonna go ahead and make, does everybody understand what
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because, okay, so I'll make the motion to grant property owner Brett Campbell of BC Management a waiver for the installation of the water main in his development known as Blair Business Commons, only for units 3 and 4, and allow a land use permit to be issued prior to the installation of the water main. The remainder of the units shall require the water main to be installed prior to the issuance of any other land use permit.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? I think, Brett, just this, having this taken care of tonight will just give you that option and a little more
That
time
choice,
to
right,
make
yeah, I think
that
I'll be guided, but, yeah,
decision.
certainly by the bank and what is logical.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote.
Do you have more? Just,
Fitzpatrick,
yes.
Longshine,
Yes.
Wolfgang,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Please? Yes. Kuchera
Yes,
and Zients.
Yes.
Motion passed. The other thing, Brett, I mean, if POP has committed to do this project for you,
They have, but not through a contract.
did they give you a price?
They gave me a rough estimate.
I would suggest couple different contractors to call. We can give you contact information for a couple other who do a lot of work in our township with the.
I'd be certainly happy for that. I mean, Lisa can email them to me and I could run it by them.
Yep. Yep, just to have some backup, because I know you want this to get going first thing
I'd
this
like
spring,
to, but I don't
so.
want to be cash poor because I got building up because I can't rent. So I mean,
Right.
Right.
if I trickle that out for another year, it's not the end of the world. I'd like to because I've sat on it for long enough, but
Right.
certainly still have to make sense. And depending on the bank balance, I don't want to put the whole cart.
Right.
As long as I can handle the negative cash flow for a year. So yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
And then that way you don't need the surety bond for the
I
water.
understand.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have to pay for it. So yeah, no, I know. So I think, like I said, I've got a couple of things in flux. I only discussed this with the bank yesterday. They kind of threw out that suggestion exactly as you're saying. But I
Even
have
if you
the
just got
positive-
the shell up in February and started that infrastructure first thing in the spring, it won't take you long.
It probably won't, but what happens if, let's say Pop or somebody else does the water main, what about the asphalt? I'm sort of relying, obviously that's where they're, relying on Molon or on they just bought Precision, so there's limited asphalt companies, and that would have to be done by the end of 2020. So I could be, held.
They could have your main end and your roads done by June 1st.
Easy.
Assuming there's not 100 people in front of me wanting to get subdivisions done, which there is. I mean, you can't even get them to call you back, let alone have a bid, let alone tie them into a time to do it. I mean, it's not, they're all insanely busy. If that changes in 2020, that would be probably good. Might be a little more receptive, but at this point, it's tough. It's tough to get anybody to respond, and it's not a big job for, Molon, Elmer, some of the big guys. So yeah, I will certainly tread carefully, I'll keep Lisa updated. I know a little more after Christmas, but I certainly appreciate you approving this and and appreciate the guidance.
We want to help you be successful here.
Thanks.
And to have a couple more bids would be very helpful too.
Yes. I've done a fair bit of work with Pop and I just kind of ran it by them, but yeah.
They're good guys.
So, no, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
You brought any contacts you have. Yep, thanks.
You bet.
Item C.
Yeah, same to you.
We need to declare one Zebra card printer model P120I as surplus and throw it away. The card printer was discontinued in 2012 and we're not able to download a print driver for it. And to get the design software, we would have to purchase a license. EMS and fire do not use it anymore, so the only thing it is used for is to print election worker name tags. Thanks, Lynette.
I'm trying to figure out how I can, because it had the cards, and then you would print whatever you wanted on them. I'm trying to figure out how I can still use what's left of the cards, because there was quite a few of those left. But I haven't been successful yet, but I'll figure it out. I know how to get the names on there, I just don't know how to get the flags on.
I make a motion to declare the Zebra card printer surplus and dispose of it properly. Then moved and supported to declare the Zebra card printer as surplus and dispose of it appropriately. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Extended public input.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
Have wonderful holidays, you deserve it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You also.
Now my binder clip doesn't fit my packet.
We're adjourned.